What's up, everybody? Josh Armijo here. I hope everybody's doing good and WAN stuff. I got a concert show review to do for you guys, and I'm going to be talking to you about my time spent at the 15th annual Destroying Texas Fest in Houston, Texas. This has been, over the last several years, this fest has been and is becoming more and more of an important and big deal when it comes to not only Texas metal festivals, but metal fests in general. And I've been very proud to have attended a lot of these Destroying Texas Fests within the last 7 to 8 years already. Once again, for the third year in a row, this took place at the BFE Rock Club in Houston, Texas. It's been going down there ever since 2017, and it has been a massive, joyous experience, to say the least bit. I got there to Houston sometime on Wednesday afternoon. This is a little bit of an early excursion for myself and the friends that I was able to spend time with for that weekend. It was just straight up fun, craziness, and debauchery all the way through. A lot of eating, a lot of drinking, a lot of pre-gaming, but overall, we all survived and we all made it out alive. 3-day fest, 7 bands per day, 21 bands in total. Starting off with day 1, we begin with Venereal Baptism out of Laredo, Texas. I've talked about this band before, but they are a very, very consistent group of people. Really awesome band. They're going to have a new full length out on Osmos Productions later in 2019. And seeing them put in the hard work that they put in, as they usually do, is always impressive. Great vocal work, great stage presence, just straight up intense stuff. Next up was Invocation Spells, and they are based out of Chile, and they play this really old school rooted style of death and thrash metal. Really love the echoed, reverbed vocals, really love the guitar riffs, and they really put on a solid and entertaining set. Then after them was one of the bands that I was the most excited to see throughout that whole weekend, and that is Supremative. Supremative are based out of Spain, and they pretty much are one of those elusive sort of bands, and this was their first show in the United States, and I had no idea what to expect as far as their live set was concerned, but it was way more awesome than I anticipated it to be. Their vocalist was, their drummer was also their vocalist. He put on a very, very awesome performance. The guitar work and bass work were awesome. Everything just felt dirty, raw, and primitive, and that's what I expected out of Supremative's set, and they were very, very sick. Very impressive, and hopefully we get more material from them, because Supremative doesn't have a lot of material other than, let's say, maybe an EP or a few split releases, but Supremative are the real deal, and I'm very happy that they got to play. Then after that, we got Unholier, which was another really awesome band to come out of Mexico and Texas. First time they've played in almost 25 years, and this is a band that predated stuff like Sacro Curse and assorted other bands that Zorak had been in, because Zorak, not only is he a member of Unholier, but he also is the man behind Destroying Texas Fest as far as running the fest goes. And it was great to see him play in that particular band, because it's a much different band in comparison to some of the material he's done over the years. Very straight up classical death metal, a lot of great riffs, vocals, great presentations, just a really, really fun and awesome set. Then we get to what I feel is not only one of the best performances of this entire weekend, but one of the best Destroying Texas Fest sets I've ever seen. And I, of course, am talking about Goat Penis. Yes, the Goat Penis from Brazil. Unbelievably sick. They played a wide multitude of songs off of their latest full-length album, some classic material. Their vocalist, bassist, had this distorted voice, almost sounded like Blackheart from Marvel Superheroes. That's the vibe I got when I heard his vocal stylings. It was insane. It got everyone in the room hyped up and crazy. It was a really, really entertaining set. Had the privilege of getting to meet their bassist vocalist afterwards. Really, really awesome guy. Just a killer set. Go Penis really brought out the energy and emotion from everyone in the crowd. Then after that, we got another little nice surprise, and that was Funeral Winds. They are a Polish black metal band. Very, very old guard rooted style black metal, from the stage presence to the candles on stage to the black and white corpse paint. It was just a really, really awesome set that they put on. Lot of fast paced material, a lot of well balanced material this band played, and Funeral Winds were really awesome. And to close out day one were the headliners, Sadistic Intent. I haven't seen Sadistic Intent in almost, I want to say maybe 4 or 5 years. I saw them in 2014 in Houston. They played that little club, Mangoes, back when that venue was around. But seeing Sadistic Intent in a bigger, roomier sort of environment felt even more awesome and introspective. And seeing Rick and Bay Cortez do their thing with Sadistic Intent and have their bandmates with them was just so awesome to see. A lot of great energy. They played a whole bunch of classic stuff, classic material. Speaking of Sadistic Intent, that's what we're listening to in the background, this Impending Doom Before the Conflict compilation. Forgot to mention that. Was still hyped up from talking about Destroying Texas Fest. But yeah, Sadistic Intent were sick. They put on a great set. Played all the classic material. Hopefully they continue on with this energy and intensity for many more years to come. Sadistic Intent are very much an important aspect of underground classic death metal. Moving on to day two, we got a little bit more craziness to go from here, and we started off with Infernal Conjuration. They are a death metal band based out of Mexico, and I had been hearing a whole lot of really awesome things about them, and getting to see them live and play their stuff and do their thing was really, really awesome. They played a bunch of stuff off of their debut full-length, which they put out through Iron Bonehead this year. Really, really impressive stuff, and their live set was absolutely impressive. The next after them was a band that I felt should have gotten on a later time slot, because the set they played was so fucking good. I was in awe at how sick they were. And I, of course, am talking about Cardiac Arrest from Chicago. Easily one of my favorite US death metal bands going right now. And the set that they played was just straight up awesome. Seeing them close out the set with Professional Victim and then doing a song about John Carpenter's The Thing was fucking sick. Just an overall great set. I have been, ever since I heard about Cardiac Arrest getting announced for Destroying Texas Fest, I was more than amped up and anticipated to see them play, and it was awesome. Next up we got Perdition Temple. Hadn't seen Perdition Temple in quite a long while, and of course the lineup for the band has drastically changed from maybe like 5 people to just 3 people. Ronnie Palmer, Gene Palubicki, and the inclusion of Alex Bloom from Ares Kingdom as their bassist vocalist, which made their lineup sound that much tighter and well-oiled, I would say. They played a bunch of material off of the Tempters Victorious, their previous material, just an overall high energy, high octane sort of set, and I was really, really stoked to see Gene Palubicki playing his guitar and do well. I haven't seen him in many, many years. It's good to know that he's doing alright. I really appreciate what Gene does for death metal. Next up was another band that I was extremely excited about seeing play, and that was Cruciamentum. Yeah, I had heard many stories from my local friends about how Cruciamentum was live, them playing Rites of Darkness many years ago, playing the US many years ago, and of course they are on tour with Infernal Conjuration and The Chasm, but Cruciamentum was the band I was the most excited to see out of that whole tour lineup, and they did not disappoint. They played a bunch of material off of their debut full-length. I know they put out a new 7-inch. They played some stuff off of that. And, of course, they played stuff off of Convocations of Crawling Chaos. Some of their best material was on those previous EPs, and they did those songs justice live. They were so awesome to watch live. Dan Lones is a really, really awesome guy. Had the privilege of getting to talk to him before and after the set. Really great guy, and I'm glad that they were able to bring Cruciamentum back into a more wider sort of fold. The next up was a band that I was really surprised to see that got added to this fest, and I'm talking, of course, about Nunslaughter. Yeah, rest in peace, Jim Sadist. We all miss you. Yeah. Nunslaughter's set felt very minimalistic in nature because you had just a drummer, a guitar player, and the vocalist, of course, that vocalist being Dawn of the Dead. And it was a very, very well done set. Very high energy, very fast, a lot of action, a lot of fast songs, a lot of moshing, a lot of pitting, a lot of stage diving as done by I think Matt Hefner from who was in Oath of Cruelty and Blast Spirit and all that. He did some moshing and stage diving, I think, during their set, which I think was fucking sick. But yeah, Nunslaughter were great, and after that was The Chasm, very important, influential Mexican death metal band. Of course, getting to see Daniel Forchado front the band and be as iconic and as charismatic as he is. He put on a really, really tremendous set with The Chasm, and it was just awesome to see everybody work well off of each other. All the soloing, all the riffs, all the drum parts, all the vocal parts. It was just something special to see, and I really appreciated what The Chasm brought with their set. And to close out day 2, we had the one and the only Master. This is kind of a bittersweet thing for me because I know last year Deathstrike were supposed to play this fest, but things happened to where they had to cancel. But better than nothing. Master is always a blast. Definitely great to see them play brand new material, all the classic material off their self-titled album. Even the Deathstrike stuff sounded really, really sick. But yeah, Master, definitely a pleasure to see, and always a pleasure to see people like Paul Speckman still make an important impact in the history of death metal. Moving on to day 3, this was the last day of the fest, the most bittersweet day of the fest, and to get things started, we had Diabolical Messiah from Chile. I hadn't seen these guys since the time I saw them in Austin with Pseudo God, and it was an absolutely fantastic set. Really enjoyed the riffs. I enjoyed the live drum sound. There were some technical difficulties at first, but those things got squared away, and we got an outstanding set from them. It was awesome to see Diabolical Messiah return and lay waste to the crowd in a pretty early time. Next up is one of the bands that I felt was the more intriguing add-ons to this fest, and of course I'm talking about Sabbath Assembly. Now, if you haven't heard Sabbath Assembly, they are a heavy metal, doomy, psychedelic sort of band based out of New York. I know Kevin Huffnagel from Gorguts Dysrhythmia is in that band, and it was great to see him be a wizard with the guitar and do his thing and hear those really well-sung vocals from their vocalist. Of course, this is a very, very far cry from the black and death metal that we've been seeing all weekend long in Houston, but it was great to see something different, something refreshing, and I really, really appreciated what that band did with their set. Apparently, Devil Lee Rot and Funeral Rites were supposed to play. I forget that other band, but Devil Lee Rot were supposed to play that fest, and I know that they are a band that would have had a very... It would have balanced things out as far as like the different heavy metal sort of stuff added onto the fest, but Devil Lee Rot had to cancel, but it was just Sabbath Assembly, but they did fine. They were fun to watch, they were very good, and they got people at attention. Next up, we have some classic Houston death metal in the form of Imprecation, and it was very, very cool to see my good friends Jeff and Nick play guitar and bass respectively, bass and guitar respectively for Imprecation, and they sounded awesome. Great stuff. Played a bunch of stuff off of their newest full-length album, their first full-length album, the classic 7-inch and demo material. Always a pleasure to see Imprecation live, and always a pleasure to get to meet David and Ruben and just get to talk to them and see how well they did as far as their set was concerned. Really amazing performance by Imprecation. Next up after them was one of my most anticipated bands of the weekend, and I of course am referring to Crucifier, the one and the only Crucifier. As soon as they announced Crucifier was going to play, I was at the edge of my seat. I was excited, and to see them play, to see the Black Lord of Crucifixion live and in person, play his music with Crucifier was fucking badass. Everyone in that band were darlings, really great dudes. They played a bunch of classic Crucifier material, a whole bunch of newer material off of their most recent full-length album, and the one thing that everyone in the room was frothing at the mouth for is for them to play something from Grand Belial's Key, and at the end of their set, they did so with Shemham Forash. I fucking lost it. It was so awesome to see a Grand Belial's Key song played live by Crucifier. Even if it was just one song, that made that much of a difference. It was so awesome. Crucifier were so sick, and I'm very happy and pleased that they got to do that. Next up was Vincent Crowley. Now this was something very special here, because if you know Vincent Crowley, he is the vocalist of Acheron. Of course, nowadays he's in a band called Infidel Reich, which is also sick in their own respective rights, but this is a very special set because you had Vincent Crowley and a couple of other really awesome people, some people who were involved with the first Acheron record, Rites of the Black Mass, and they played that record in its entirety, and it was pretty cool to see Vincent Crowley on stage holding the goat head horn high into the crowd. He had a hooded figure on the right-hand side of the stage to hand him like a goblet with like holy wine or something like that, which I think was pretty fucking crazy. But they sounded good. Their set was very awesome, and this definitely got the crowd moving a lot. But that paled in comparison to the band that came up next, and that was Massacre. Massacre from Florida. I had no idea that they had brought Cam Lee back into the band. Of course, if you know, Cam Lee pretty much needs no introduction if you're into death metal. Pioneering vocalist behind Mantas and Death back in the early days. Got to meet Rick Ross, absolute icon. Of course, if you know Rick Ross, he was also in Mantas and played on Leprosy. Absolute legend of death metal, in my humble opinion. He was so cool. But yeah, that room got so fucking packed. I could not believe my eyes at how packed everything was. A lot of mosh pit action, a lot of stage diving. They played a whole bunch of material off of From Beyond, and what really set people off was the fact that they played stuff off of Death by Metal. I know that they played Evil Dead and one other track off of that album, completely improvised, no practice, no anything like that. They just winged it, and they played it, and they sounded so good. It was so awesome. Very classic death metal set. And yeah, moving on to the last band of the night for day 3 was another Florida death metal band, Nocturnus AD. Took a little while for everything to get set up, and unfortunately I wasn't able to catch a lot of Nocturnus AD's set, but the half that I did get to see was the half that I wanted to see the most. I'm very happy that they played Lake of Fire early. I fucking love Lake of Fire so much. I love the key so much. But the new material that Nocturnus AD did for their new album Paradox sounded really good live too. Very awesome keyboard usage. Mike Browning still being a badass drummer, having a lot of accents and wind chimes and all that other sort of stuff in his drum kit was really fun to see. The riffs sounded great. A lot of classic Nocturnus flair going with those riffs. Really badass stuff. And yeah, it was really cool to see Nocturnus for the time that I did, and the opportunity to get to meet Mike Browning that weekend. Really killer stuff. So overall, another fantastic Destroying Texas Fest in the books. Who knows what the future will hold for 2020, but I'm optimistic that things will get a little bit more rowdier and crazier than ever before. Yeah. If you happen to be a part of Destroying Texas Fest this year, definitely let me know what your favorite bands were, what you thought of the fest in general, what you look forward to in 2020. I mean, as far as my favorite bands of the weekend were, Supremative, Goat Penis, Sadistic Intent, Cardiac Arrest, Crucia Mentum, Imprecation, Crucifier, and Massacre. Massacre's set was way better than I anticipated it to be, and so much more, and I'm very, very pleased and happy at how things were with Massacre's set. So yeah, Destroying Texas Fest 15 in the books. If you attended the fest, let me know what you think, what you thought about it, how you feel about it, and what you look forward to in 2020. I have merch, but I will save that for the video later on in the week. So stay tuned for the merch haul video for Destroying Texas Fest 15. So yeah, I'm going to conclude this video. Thanks a lot for watching. Thanks for checking out my channel. And until next time, Army out.